Hello, this is Eddie Udo. We are in trimester 2 of 2017. This is the DSO 13A, Drawing Fundamentals for Animators class. I'm going to be reviewing Gary Moynihan's work, specifically from week 4, which the topic was form and tone, form and shape, shading, how do we make things look three-dimensional, all that sort of stuff. What I want to focus on in this short tutorial are two things. What I call the 1, 2, 3 read. This is basically the philosophy for how I think about conveying form and tone, and then I'll be showing you some proper line work technique. So that's more about more mark making. And as I can see through your drawings, the lines are sort of kind of going in random directions. You don't seem to know. Well, yeah, I teach you. You seem a little bit unsure of where to put your marks, that sort of thing. So I'll get into that. So the first thing is the 1, 2, 3 read. So this is basically just when you want to show form, when you want to show something three-dimensionally. Well, the simplest way is by doing some line work, which is what you've done so far. But you'll always notice that you take away the lines, like, oh, okay, like, there's nothing there. We've got no more information left. So what do I have to do at the minimum to show some form on this block? So the 1, 2, 3 read basically means you need 1, 2, 3, 3 different sides of differing value to get the point across to the human eye, right? So first thing, right, we've got this little blank, but if I introduce one side, now there's 2 different value ranges, right? I take off my line work, like, okay, we can sort of get a semblance. We know the light direction is coming somewhere here, but is the light focused on this side or is it focused on that side? Where is our light coming from? And then if we have the top to be the lightest value, okay, cool, now we know the light's coming from that direction, right? Cool, so now the human eye can see that it's a three-dimensional object. What can we do to push it further? Well, it's got to have a shadow, right? Cool. Okay, now it's sitting in space. I get it. There are a few, more things that we can do to really help push this, right? So, as we can see, the top is very, very faint, right? So, you could, darken the area behind top, right? Now this pops. It pops out of the background because we've increased the contrast between this side and the background, What else can we do? Well, there's a concept called, there's something called bounce light or reflected light. So, okay, so light's coming down. Light's coming down, right? So light comes down, it hits this side the most, right? Put it in color. Light comes down, it hits that side the most. It's kind of hitting this side the least, right? It's not hitting this side much at all, right? But check it out. So light also does this thing where it comes down. So this is your primary light. It's hitting this directly. Now this light is also hitting the floor and then bouncing that light back up, right? And that's called reflected light or bounce light. So if we're getting our light at maybe 100% intensity over here, right? This can't be as much as that. This bounce light has to be weaker because it's coming down, hits there, it's getting less of it's coming back. So maybe we hit over here with, I don't know, maybe 40% or something. I'm just making up numbers, but the point is that there will be some light that goes down over here. So what you can do, if you're going for some more realism, like whatever the you know, if the floor was red, this would be red light. The floor is white. In this case, it's white light. But you can have a little bit. Oh, let's go. There we go. That's too intense, but I'm just making a point that that's the bounce light. But that's, you know, that's way too intense. We said that it should be less, so maybe something like that. You know, over here, there's no light that's kind of there's no light getting in here. So this side, like there's no light that bounces into there. So this side is actually going to be a little bit darker down the bottom. A little bit darker down the bottom. And then the top side, this is gonna getting a lot more of the light from the top, so you can have it. You want, so essentially you want like the hot spot to be right there, and then it gets less as we radiate out. So that's, yeah. What else? Oh yeah, you'll also have, you'll notice on the side of your table, your desk, the corners of objects will actually be a little, let's fix this. The corners of objects will actually have a little bit of light catching them on the rim. So you'll notice too much. Yeah, as I was saying, you'll notice on the rim of things you get this rim light. And not all the way. This doesn't have to be as intense everywhere, but it's just... Oh, that's just because in industrial design, when they make products, if they made edges 100% sharp, then customers would cut their hands, right? If this was 100% like, you know, the edge was this, and then like that, they cut your hand there. So what happens is, when they engineer it, the sides come, and then there's actually a bit of curve. That's that curve which is catching the light. So the light comes from here, you know, like 100% hits that curve, and then less there, less there, less there, less there. So that rim is what's being caught there. That rim is what's catching the light there. Cool. So basically, just to recap, what you need to do if you want to show form is at a bare minimum, you need three distinct sides of value, right? 1, 2, 3. If you want to push realism, then you start to take into account things like bounce lights over here, you know, gradations through your side. So, you know, though this is the darkest side, right? This is the darkest side. There's still going to be even less light down this bottom than the top, right? You know, yep. So even within your lightest values, there's the gradation there, and some any beveled edges will catch some rim light. Like that. Yeah, that's basically the one. That's the essence of the 1, 2, 3 read. Also, if you find before, like I said, if you find that the object is not popping, like you've done all this work, but you can't see anything behind it. You know, you won't see that shine. You can darken the background, and vice versa. If you have a light object on a light background, darken the background. If you have a dark object on a dark background, you lighten the background. Did I say that right? You know what I mean. If you want to show contrast, you gotta have a light object on a dark background or a dark object on a light background. Cool. Now, proper line work, right? This is basically just talking about, yeah, and it's a common thing. Which way do I make my lines, all that sort of stuff. So the whole idea when you're doing all your line work is, let's say you've got 100, strokes to use, right? Do you want to make them, and how do we make them worthwhile, right? You could do 100 random strokes to show something, but maybe that's not the most efficient use of our time. Maybe to use our lines effectively, you want to show form. So when you have, let's just say I've got a cylinder. When I want to shade this in, I want to shade this in a way that's going to help me. So I'm not just going to shade like this. I'm not just going to shade like randomly. I'll try and like make it more focused and start shading in the direction that this thing is wrapping, right? So if I'm shading it in, I'm making all my curves follow this sort of motion, and then, going around, and then also following the form, which is going that way. You can also do that. It's the darkest side. But yeah, same thing with, let's see. Oh yeah, so yeah, for the cylinder, and also again with the 1, 2, 3 read, it's basically you've only got two values really, the white and the black. So you could depending on the material, if this is like a rubber ball, maybe you might have like a sort of like a super white highlight there. It could be something a little less. So more subtle. And then you can, if we were taking the bounce light into account, again, light comes here and can bounce up into that underside. most of that light. Kind of come back in. Again with the with this one we've already discussed, you know, just 1, 2, 3 read. Go to your darkest side. Lighter side. Oh, and also, so like with the cube, which direction am I supposed to be shading in? So when you've got, let's go to your, you've done your perspective lines, very good. Right. So when I was, if I was shading with my pen or my pencil, I would make my line work kind of follow the perspective lines, as well as, you know, that line going that way. Over here, you know, all our lines are going that way. I would shade in that direction. Same thing, and or if I want to double it, also shade in that direction. That way we're making use of our lines, right? So I'm shading like this over here. You know, shading. Or going in that direction too. That my perspective was going into. See, it just looks a bit more organized, and then I can also shade in that direction. For this one, I can make the lines. I can make the lines thicker, darker, but then also again, still shading in the direction of the perspective that we set up. Over here, again, just need that whole shadow, the whole form shaded in, yeah. Over here, keep that there. And again, like, you know, shading, you know, trying to shade in that direction. See, going in, following the circle. Right. You know, if we wanted to be you know, more realistic. We'd have like the rim light over here, sort of thing. If you wanted to go for more realism. Yeah, cool. It's your little robot dude. Yeah, cool. That's cool. I would just say this guy. Yeah, it would be cool to like fully shade him in, you know, like I was doing with this. It'd be cool to fully shade him in. I think that's the basics of form and tone. I'll just do a little bit more examples of like doing the line work. Again, so let's just say I've got a form and it's bending this way. What can I do? Right. So that's a sphere connected to a cylinder, connected to another cylinder. Cool. Let's say an arm, right? Arm muscle. And the hand. But yeah, so in this case again, choosing my line work, again, what I'm trying to see, what I'm trying to envision is a 3D wireframe going throughout all my objects that will give me hints as to what direction I should be shading in. Right? And it's that way. So when I'm shading, I try to imagine that, and that's how I do my shading. So you know, I'll try to shade in that direction there, then I'll try to shade, you know, in this direction. For the other objects. For the ball, you know, shading in this direction. Anything anything that can just try and show that form. So yeah, I hope that's clear. And if anything is not clear, I can go over it in more detail for you. Yeah, that's just how I think about choosing which direction to put my lines in. Form and tone need at least 3 values. Yeah. So if I was gonna shade your guy, let's do a quick. We can say, let's say the top is, it's easiest to do top lighting is it's easiest to do the top, like lighting coming from above. So we'll have, you know, make sure, also, so like, so if light's coming from here, then, you know, all this will be under shadow, you know, there'll be the cast shadow, that this box, like this box, cast a shadow underneath it, right? Which is everything over here. You know, shadow, shadow. This will be in shadow. That's in shadow. I want to make this tutorial very, very short. So this is a basic thing. So yeah, hope that helps, and let me know if anything I've said is unclear. Okay, see ya.